Hello and welcome everyone to this webinar where we are going to talk about how we can enhance the carbon footprint to an environmental footprint with SAP Sustainability Footprint Management. It's great to see that so many of you took the time, even in this stressful period before Christmas. And my name is Janina, and I'm a consultant at BearingPoint, focusing on emission calculation. And I'm supporting clients implementing SAP sustainability solutions like SAP Sustainability Footprint Management. And I'm very happy that I can welcome today Nico Wodke from SAP. And Nico, do you want to shortly introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Janina, and also a warm welcome from my side. Very happy to be here in this joint webinar. Yeah, my name is Nico Wodke. I'm a product expert in our SAP Sustainability Engineering team. So basically, the organization within SAP that is developing all our sustainability solutions. My main focus is on SAP Sustainability Footprint Management. So I'm working on this product since more than 5 years already. So from the very beginning when there wasn't a product yet. So we did a lot of early discovery together with partners, with customers, and then out of that, this product is evolving. And now we have another major release, and happy to talk about this today.
Thank you, Nico. The plan was also to introduce my colleague Julia Soldner today. Unfortunately, she's on sick leave, so she won't be able to join. Anyways, let's go quickly through what we have planned for today. First, Nico is going to show you what an ERP-centric product and corporate footprint calculation is in SFM. And then I will go through the accelerators and challenges of taking the footprint one step ahead to have to go beyond carbon. And then I will give you a short live demo in the system to see how you can calculate a PCF, so a product carbon footprint and a corporate carbon footprint, and enhance this with the multi-impact categories to then come to the environmental footprint. And we will finish with the Q&A session. So hopefully we'll have enough time to answer all of your questions. And if questions arise in the meantime, you can use the questions functionality of this tool to raise them, and then we can see them. And then I would hand over to you, Nico.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, before going here really into the details, let me spend 2 minutes to start here a bit with the overall picture of our SAP sustainability portfolio, because it's really important to understand that our sustainability portfolio is really deeply embedded into our SAP business suite and our entire product strategy. So the execution of sustainability is done through a really tight integration with SAP Business Suite and also into this overall framework of apps, data, and AI. So you see here the ground layer, so to say, which is the app layer, where we have a portfolio of different solutions that are catering for different use cases that you are having. And one of those products, which is already marked here, is SAP Sustainability Footprint Management, which I will dive into in a minute. But as said, it's really all of those applications, of course, are deeply integrated within each other, but also integrated into the bigger picture, into the whole SAP business suite. And this is then ensuring that the data is always accurate and connected, and also it's connected to the processes that are available in ERP, in the business suite. And then on top of the app layer, there's the data layer, where we have really one sustainability data model, which is now also powered by the SAP Business Data Cloud. And this then ensures a consistent reporting and ensures that you really gain deeper insights and can make confident decisions across every sustainability process and also your products. And for doing so, we also are releasing now more and more data products, which are then accessible in SAP Business Data Cloud. And at the very top, AI. Of course, also we are leveraging heavily artificial intelligence to really drive sustainability at scale. And this means we're infusing AI for automation and smarter decision making. So you see this small purple jewel icons. So really in all our sustainability products, we have own AI cases and also heavily investing in releasing further AI cases in the next quarters that then really makes it easier and faster to calculate sustainability KPIs, but then also to really drive the decision making based on all this data. But now let's really focus and dive into SAP Sustainability Footprint Management. So this is our tool really to drive decarbonization. We have here a really deep ERP-centric approach. So the product is deeply integrated in the ERP landscape. And this use existing data, so existing business data, and reuse this business data then for sustainability purposes, so to say. We are calculating here auditable corporate as well as product carbon footprints at scale. So this means we are calculating corporate carbon footprints all the GHG protocol categories, so scope 1, 2, and 3, and all the categories. And the product carbon footprints we calculate cradle to grave, so the entire product life cycle. And now we're also moving beyond carbon with additional impact categories, and this we'll cover in the second part. And Janina will provide many more details around that. So this then also allows for further insights besides carbon, like fossil, biogenic emissions and removals. And with this deep integration with SAP ERP and also ERPs, integrating the footprint results back into the core business processes, like, for example, procurement or finance, because this is really where the decisions are made. And with this information, we're then allowing for holistic decision making, keeping in mind then also sustainability. Going now a bit deeper into our calculation logic. So how are we doing all of that? So the good thing is the tool is quite flexible. So you can also start small or start on a very low granularity, and then increase the accuracy and granularity over time. But for all these different stages, you can make use of your existing ERP data. So maybe starting here at the bottom where we have the least granularity, the spend-based method. So here you can use the financial data that is coming from your procurement data in ERP. And then we always multiply this business data by an emission factor. So in this case, we provide spend-based emission factors, and you can of course also import your own emission factors, and by that then can calculate the environmental impact of those purchases. When you then get more accurate, you can use the average data method, which means that you now use the unit of one activity, like, for example, steel. Again, information you get from the ERP system, so from your transactional data, like the goods receipt from supplier. And then we can again multiply this with an emission factor. Also here, we provide lots of emission factors already pre-delivered in the system, but are very flexible to also bring in your own data. And then over time, when you want to get at a more accurate level and really calculate actual footprints, then you can move to the supplier specific method, and then really use the unit of an activity and multiply this with actual emission data that you receive directly from your supplier. So you again use your activity data from ERP, but then get emission factors from your suppliers directly. And this emissions you can also then get automated via, for example, SAP Sustainability Data Exchange, or also via SAP Ariba Sourcing. And spending some more minutes on this business activities that we are reusing, and it allows you to transition from averages to averages where it matters most. So we really do this across all the GHG protocol categories. Here you see some example of those slides, and we always replicate both transactional and master data. So for scope 3.1, so your purchased products, I just talked about, where we then get the master data from the material master, like the products, the product group, or the suppliers, and of course, then on a periodic scale, the transactional data, like what you actually receive from your suppliers. For transport, so scope 3.4 and also 3.9 downstream, we also reuse this data. So also those material movements, because of course we also need this information for knowing which quantity of goods was sent from A to B. So therefore, we also need this material movements. But of course, we need there more information, like for example, the business partner and the plant where this good was transported to. But it's also we all have in S4 HANA or in the ERP system, and can then also reuse it for calculating scope 3.4 and 3.9. Also, scope 3.5, waste and operations. We have the waste types maintained in ERP. And not only for the scope 3 indirect emissions, we have the data, but of course also for your direct emissions. So everything related to scope 1 and scope 2. So here we have in the master data it's about the activities or resources, like for example, when you're producing, let's say, cookies, you have an oven as a resource and also have the activities, so the baking process for producing this cookie. And then on a transactional level, we have the production order confirmation, so that in the production order, we know exactly how many cookies were, for example, produced in a specific period, like in 1 month, and also what are all these raw materials that were used in producing this cookie. And then we calculate everything together, and by that then are able to calculate this footprints on a corporate product level. And the advantages of leveraging your ERP data is that you can then, of course, use the same business semantics that already your lines of business are using. You have the same data points like the LOBs. This massively scales the data collection, and of course also increases the accuracy and the granularity. And I already mentioned it. Also, one of the unique points of our product is really that it leverages synergies between a corporate and a product carbon footprint calculation. So unlike other tools, some have a calculator on the corporate level, some may provide already your product carbon footprint, but SAP Sustainability Footprint Management really combines both of it. So with one calculation, you side by side calculate both the corporate and the product carbon footprint. And there may be data that you have on the corporate level, land data, provide then allocation possibilities to allocate this data down to the individual products, like for example, via this production orders, you then know how many goods are produced in a specific plant and can then allocate it. But there's also data that you may have on a product level, and this you can then aggregate bottom up, so that it's also available in your corporate carbon footprint calculation, and then can, for example, also be reused in regulatory reporting like in CSRD. Slides then again visualizes that we are really able to calculate on the corporate carbon footprint level all the GHG scopes and categories as per the GHG protocol, and on the product carbon footprint the entire product life cycle, cradle to grave, and then with this allocation and aggregation combine all the data. But of course, it's not enough to calculate your carbon footprints and to report them, but you want to hopefully reduce over time your carbon footprints, right? Of course, first of all, reporting that to the outside, so for regulatory purposes, but also for voluntary purposes. For example, to really show your customers how sustainable your products are, and to really get a competitive advantage, and by that drive revenue and margin. But for doing so, you need to have this information available where the decisions are actually made. And that, again, with our ERP-centric approach, we then integrate the calculated footprint results back into the business processes, so back to where your business users are driving their decision-making and in the applications which they are using on a daily basis. So one example, supply management and procurement. We integrate the data back into Cloud ERP, into purchase requisitions and purchase orders, and by that can really influence purchasing decision and help source for more sustainable alternatives. Or in the finance space, we with SAP Green Ledger can sync carbon and finance data in this really green ledger so that you get a connected view of finance and sustainability performance. And by that, for example, can then also calculate your revenue and margin, having always sustainability criteria in mind. And there is more integration like into sales and marketing or into business planning to also then use footprints, track emissions, and use this in your supply chain planning. So this was just a short overview about SAP Sustainability Footprint Management and its capabilities. And I mentioned now in Q4 we made a very exciting, or we released a very exciting innovation that allows you then to not only calculate the carbon impact, but also move beyond carbon to additional environmental impact categories. And to provide you more details about that, the challenges you may have, and how then SAP Sustainability Footprint Management supports you, I'm now handing back to Giannina to walk you through that.
Yeah, thank you, Nico. I will take over the screen sharing. Okay, so the question is now, why should you even move beyond carbon? Why the effort, so to say? The regulations there are already a lot of regulations that require more than the corporate carbon footprint, and they're still evolving. And also from a business point of view, it also makes sense to have the complete picture of your environmental impact, also to then have the whole business sustainability strategy that is effective. And of course, there are some challenges on the way to come to the environmental footprint. We identified here, some challenges. First of all, you need to, of course, know which regulations you need to comply to. And for example, there are differences between the different sectors. For example, in the chemical industry, you have Together for Sustainability. In the automotive sector, you have Catena X, and they all have their own requirements. So you need to first check what are even our requirements, what do we need to comply, and which categories we need to report on. After that, of course, a very important part is the emission factor finding and mapping. This needs to be done, can be difficult because there are a lot of categories where you need to have an emission factor on but once you are done with that, you can already go one step further and implement those categories into your product or corporate carbon footprint. This can be also quite challenging because if you do it manually, it will get a lot of work, and it can be error prone if you do it just with Excel. So we would of course recommend to do it with software, with the support of a software. And exactly. So let me go one step further and talk about the different categories. 1 second. What's on the screen? Second. Okay, sorry. So so on this slide we see all the categories that are for now covered by SAP SFM. There are more to come in the future, but for now we have all of those. And you see that we have the climate change category that has always been there and will always be the basis of your calculation. And then on top of that, we have now the fossil GHG emissions, which show all your emissions that come from fossil sources. There are several categories on the biogenic impact, and also then related to that, the land use and land management effects. For example, the impact from deforestation. And lastly, we also have the technological GHG removal categories, and also the abiotic resource depletion, which refers to the reduction of non-living natural resources that can be also tracked here. And on top of the categories, you see the different reporting standards and which of those categories they require. And you can see they vary. So some regulations want to have categories that the others don't want. And the good thing is in SFM, you can be very flexible here. So you can just select exactly the categories that you need to comply to, and the others you don't need to calculate if you don't want to, let's say. And to go then one step further, how is it done in the system? Nico already explained the concept behind SFM, and this is the same also for now for this impact categories. So you have the activity data that comes directly from your ERP system. We know exactly how much we purchased, we know how much energy we consumed, and so on. And then we can go to the calculations step where we first need to do some allocation rules and boundaries, setups, and so on. And then we need, as said, of course, our emission factors as well. We can have here supplier-specific emission factors. We can fall back to LCA databases, to spend-based values, or custom emission factors. So we are very flexible here in terms of what emission factors we have and how exact they can be. And once you have your calculation done, we can then reply to the regulation requirements like the CSRD or also the SBTi flag on a corporate level, but also on a product level. Standards like PACT version 3 or Catena X can then be reported on. And it's not only about regulations here, it's of course also for your business impact and how you can then integrate your results into your business. And here, we can directly report or integrate back the results in the S4 system, or we can exchange our results with SAP Sustainability Data Exchange, for example. So it's not only only on regulations, but it's also on what we can do with the data for our business afterwards. Okay, then that's so much for the theory, let's say. And then I would jump into our little demo case that we prepared to show you the new functionalities. But first of all, I want to give you a very short overview of what I'm going to show you later on in the system. So we have a company called S Fashion. We have two plants, one in Germany and one in the Czech Republic. The company is producing outdoor jackets. So we have three final products. It's one fleece jacket, one rain jacket, and one jacket that combines like the rain and the fleece jacket. So it's like a warm outdoor rain jacket. And the requirements of this company is that they want to calculate a product and corporate carbon footprint enhanced by the multi-impact categories. So what we are going to calculate is a product carbon footprint cradle to gate. You can see that this involves the purchasing, the transport, the manufacturing, and the waste. And for the corporate carbon footprint, we have all the categories or scope categories calculated that you can see here on the bottom of the slide. Okay, then I will jump into the system. Okay. And let's load a little bit. Yeah, for those of you who may not know SFM so well, it's a cloud-based solution within the Fiori design. So you may know this tile design. And I will now guide you through the flow of how you do the corporate and product footprint calculation here. I will not show every step on the way, just the most important ones. And to get a better, let's say, flow here, SFM is divided into different sections to help you to have the guidance for the steps. Here we will start at the bottom of the app, let's say, and go further up. So you will see you will see how that goes. So at the beginning of our calculation, we of course need master data like our plants, the products, the suppliers, and so on. We can either import this with templates, or we can have a direct connection to our S4 system, and the data gets then pulled directly into the system. Then the next very important step is our inventory scope. The inventory scope is something like the framework or the setting of the whole calculation. And what you can set up here is the basic data, like which period do I want to calculate. I can calculate on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, or on a yearly basis. And then we need to assign the company and the plans that we want to calculate it for. And afterwards, we need to select which value chain steps we want to calculate. So those are, in other words, the scope categories, also GHT scope categories 1, 2, and 3.1 and 3.4. So we have the material acquisition, we have the energy consumption, and we have the transportation here. Then if we go further down, I activated here the business activities. This is very important for the CCF calculation. So this includes all possible GHG categories that are, all possible actually. And then we also activated the waste generating operations for the 3.5 calculation. And then we come to the new part, which are the impact categories. So here you can see that they are all the categories that I mentioned before. And maybe I go into the edit mode, and you see that you can just activate them with a little click. The climate change you cannot deactivate, it's always being calculated, but the rest you can just select or deselect as you want. And then once you have that set, the inventory scope is done, and you can go to the next step. So let me go back. So the next step would then be the emission factors. For that, we need to provide the system with the necessary emission factors. We can do that by importing a data set here with including all the necessary emission factors. You see that here, my own little data set, let's say. Also, you can see all the emission factors that SAP provides by default. And I added now my relevant emission factors here as a data set. And I will also show you later how it looks like, because I will show you just one example of our purchased products emission factors. So of course we need to map somehow the products that we purchase with the emission factors of specific materials. To do so, we can either do this all by a template or manually, but we can also let the AI help us here a little bit. So how that works, we can, for example, select all, or I will just now select our cardboard box which is our packaging, and I click on generate mappings using AI. Then I will go to the tab here, unreleased footprints, and we see that it was mapped with a quite high similarity score. And I can now check what the AI actually did here. And we see it was mapped with a emission factor that's called also cardboard from our data set. And if I click on here, we can also then see the details of this emission factor. So we see here it's mapped to this emission factor that has all of those emission factors included for all impact categories that it's relevant to. So if I'm happy with this emission factor, I can then just release it. So, okay, and then it will be used for my calculation later on. Okay, so then we go one step further up to our energy flow. So before we calculate, we also need to tell the system how is the energy, let's say, flowing through our plants and which machine uses which energy and so on. This is done here, and I will just quickly show you an example of our plant in Hamburg. So you see here this graphical modeler where you can clearly see, okay, we have two energy sources and they're connected to the meters that are then connected to the machines and monitor how much energy they consume. And yeah, this then is used in the calculation later on. Then we all go one step further again. And yeah, the business transaction were already mentioned by Nico that, yeah, of course, very important because they show what actually happened in that period. So if we check, for example, for Q4, we see here all movement types that, yeah, that happened in that period. And very important here to mention, for example, the goods received from supplier, because they're exactly showing how much material from our suppliers we got into our own company, how much emissions we need to assign here. And also this is used for the transport calculation because we know exactly how much we got transported from our suppliers. And this will also be easily be reused for our transport calculation. Okay, then we have all data ready and set, and we can go one step further to our calculation. So I will again go to Q4, and before you calculate, you always need to check if all the data is complete and ready. For that, you can go to the data readiness tab here, and you see, okay, all the data that we scoped before, all the categories are yeah, completed, are green, all good. So then we can click on calculate and it will be calculating. As I already did that, the status here is already calculated successfully. So I can just jump to the results. If it wants to. Oh, let's see. Yeah. So the results in this overview, you can have really results on every granularity level. So on every step on the way, you see it on a resource level. You can see on a semi-product, so the emissions of the semi-finished product and so on. If we're now only interested in the emissions of our products, we can just select it here and then see the emissions of our semi-finished and finished products. If we go into our really final product, the outdoor jacket, we can even go further here. And we see here our product carbon footprint for one jacket, which is 42 kilos. And we can find more details here in that drill down. So we see the division of which scope category it has most emissions. And you can also see all the impact categories that we selected that are relevant and the corresponding values for this one piece of jacket. If you're interested how this results happened during the production, you can go further into this Senki, or you can go back in the Senki, let's say, and you see, okay, our outdoor jacket is combined from those two final products. And then we can go even further and see that, that, for example, the rain jacket is combined of those materials and those machines were included in the production process to produce our final product. Yeah, you can go back here until the final stage of suppliers and see how much emissions you get from per supplier. And yeah, this is one way of analyzing the results, but we have a lot of other options. I'm just going to show you some of them. So for example, we have the option, if we go one step further up here, to analyze our purchased products. And that you can do either, you can do on category level. So for now here, it's selected the climate change category, but you can easily just change this and, for example, look at how much of this is now just fossil emissions, or how much is my biogenic non-CO2 emissions per product. Of course, not all products are relevant then here, and you can go further here into further details. On a more broader view, you have the Footprint Overview app, where you can see also the periodicity. Here you can clearly see, okay, we have big variations over the quarters, which may be caused by production. That in some quarters you produce more than in other quarters. You see the overall distribution of the scope categories. You can also see a nice overview of your scope 3 emissions and how the distribution is here. And then I will just show you the last possible options or there are many more, but the last one that I show you is the Corporate Balance app, where you can then really see the complete corporate footprint for this period. And we see against this Sankey or another Sankey diagram, and the scope categories flow into it, and you can nicely see which part is really from your products, from your production, and what part is just from other categories, from your CCF, like business travel and so on, which is not product related. Okay, then that's it from the demo point of view, and I will go back to the slides. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can raise them now. I'm not sure if we already have questions in the chat.
Yeah, we have one.
Okay, 1 second.
We can also read it out if you want to.
Yes.
So the question is, so would that we can identify and then see here the tier 1 suppliers, and the question is if we also have a mapping of the tier N suppliers. So this is not possible, as we of course get the product from the tier 1 supplier and then calculate it on this level, right? So this is the granularity that you can see in Sustainability Footprint Management. There's another question, can we model the energy flow without meters in case there are none available on site? Yes, this is absolutely possible. So our calculation engine is quite flexible in that regard. And as an alternative to meters, it's possible to maintain planned energy consumption rates, which means that we are not then calculating with actual data, but with planned data. And by that, then can also distribute the total energy down to the resources or to the products or whatever distribution you want to have.
Okay, we have one more question. If I already have an SFM license, what do I need to do to have the additional feature available? Do you want to say?
Do you want me to? Yeah, yeah, sure. I can tell you. I love this question because actually you don't have to do anything. You get it free of charge, so to say. So and it is already available. So if you already have a license, it is already available. So this feature was shipped, I guess, mid-October, and it's included in the license. So no additional charges. And of course, I encourage everyone to just try it out because the cool thing is, and I guess Janina showed it very nicely, that yeah, you can reuse all the data that you anyway have set up for calculating your carbon data. It's just that you need to add some more emission factors, but then the calculation logic and everything stays the same. And with just one click, you get now yeah, a much broader variety of impacts that are calculated.
Mhm. Then, what is the timeline for the release of all environmental footprint categories?
So over the next year, we are adding more and more impact categories quarter by quarter, so that we then yeah also cover more and more use cases over time. So I cannot provide an exact timeline now. Of course, we are also very closely aligning here with our customers to really fulfill the requirements that they need. So, for example, now we had many requirements with regards to SBTi flag emissions. That's why the first set of impact categories, for example, covers this flag scope. And yeah, there will then be more and more coming over the course of the next quarters.
Mhm. Then we have the question, what additional environmental data might become available in the future? Like which categories, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, what we plan to provide is, for example, a breakdown into the different GHG gases. We plan to go into water to also provide a water footprint. Energy will be a topic, and also yeah, circularity, right? That you can then identify the level of circularity and recycle content of your purchased and then produced products, for example.
Mhm. Okay, and another question, any authorization or role configuration needed for leveraging the new functionalities? Um, I believe there's no additional role authorization as we are only using the already existing apps. There are no new apps for the new functionality, so should be all visible already.
Correct, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And I see there's another question. If it's certified against the EU battery regulation and a PCF calculation method. So currently we have a certification for Catena X. So this is certified. Besides, we are looking into other standards to see if the product can be certified and going forward.
Mhm. What is the difference from EHS, EM, which also calculated GHG emissions?
Yeah, so actually both cover a completely different use case, I would say, right? I mean, sustainability footprint management, really the power is to reuse this data from ERP to calculate then the footprint on a corporate and product level, whereas EH&S EM really focuses on this, I say, license to operate, so really your operational compliance. And then also when I mean, for example, I mentioned that we go into water, but this of course does not mean that we just now do the same that EH&S does, right? I mean, whereas EH&S, for example, more focuses on on the compliance aspect of the water, we then really calculate a water footprint. So, for example, which embedded water is in a t-shirt or so, right? So it's really two different use cases that the two products are covering.
Mhm. Okay. How to overcome the double counting?
Uh, yeah, okay. I mean, this is now a very, very generic question, but I mean, our calculation engine really ensures that nothing is double counted. So we're really powerful network calculations on which we also have a patent, and this then ensures that the data, for example, we are replicating from ERP then gets only used once, so to say, in then yeah, calculating the carbon or the environmental impact.
All right. I don't see more questions. I would like to point out to the poll that we were sending. So if you would be so nice, you could just answer those 3 questions. How satisfied you were with our speakers today, and yeah, that would be great to improve our skills, let's say. There's one question coming up. You mentioned the pact regulation. Does SFM has content of the regulation or just calculated emissions to be used for pact regulation?
Not sure what you mean by content of the regulations. So indeed, we are fulfilling the pact requirements, which means that, for example, the APIs that we are providing, so on both ends, right, inbound and outbound. So when we collect carbon footprints from suppliers, so we can do it via SAP Sustainability Data Exchange, but we also have an API with which you can connect any other footprint calculation tool that also complies as per this pact standard. And also on the outbound side, our calculated footprints, when you want to send those to your customers, you can, of course, also do it via SAP Sustainability Data Exchange. But with this pact API, you can also connect any other tool that your suppliers are having, as long as this also fulfills the pact requirements. Then also all our calculation engine and the different the different dimensions of pact are then covered by sustainability footprint management.
Okay, then I don't see more questions. If there are other questions coming up later on, you can always reach out to us. You can find the details here, our contact details via email or LinkedIn, as you wish. We are always happy to answer all of your questions. And yeah, I would say then I would close the session. Thanks a lot for your participation, and thanks a lot, Nico, also for yeah, being our guest speaker today. And yeah, I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day and Merry Christmas, of course.
Thanks a lot also from my end. Thanks for your participation. Bye bye.
Bye.